Jackson, 2020. Amar, how's it going, everyone? I am pumped for some Thursday night football. I do not know about all of you. Josh, it's Thursday, man. Jose, it is Thursday. Akers or Mostert? That is the question of the night. Is Akers or Mostert? And I've seen this one a ton in the comments. Cam Akers or Mostert? Andrew, I did not hear about Star Wars. Akers or Mostert? I'm leaning towards Cam Akers. Yo, will Pats win or Rams? I am taking the New England Patriots tonight as underdogs, guys. And I am typically a pessimistic Patriots fan, but there's something about Jared Goff. He does not scare me in the slightest. I think that Bill Belichick excels against quarterbacks like Jared Goff. Parker, good to see you. I'm pretty confident in Cam Akers, though. I do think Cam Akers can have a good game. Cam Akers was pretty clearly the running back one for this team in their last game. 21 carries he had. Hey, Sam, if the Dolphins want a legitimate playoff run, do they start Fitz or Tua? I'm very much of the mindset that the Miami Dolphins need to be starting Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think that they're making the wrong decision forcing Tua out there too early. And I still think Tua can be a really good quarterback in the NFL. Stafford or Hurts or Taysom Hill in the playoffs. I'm leaning towards Stafford or Taysom Hill. I don't think you can be trusting Hurts against a Saints defense that's historically good against the run. Cam Newton over 175 passing yards. I think he's going to be right around there. And guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, hit that like button. Really do appreciate that. Pats plus 4.5. It really is easy money. It is. I mean, I do think that this game should be closer to an even spread. I think that the Patriots defense is going to continue to do very well against a quarterback like Jared Goff. You guys heard it here. The Patriots are going to take down Parker. Yeah, I do remember you, of course. The Patriots are going to take down the Rams tonight. Akers or AB? That is a close one because to me, Antonio Brown still does have more upside than Cam Akers. I would argue, though, Cam Akers does have a higher floor than Antonio Brown. Should I start Woods tonight? Gas. People, this is the fantasy playoffs. The Thursday night game in the fantasy football playoffs is always very, very stressful. You have to decide, do you want to start Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp? Cam Akers is a guy that's like a flex or running back 2 option for a lot of people. Are you starting Cam Newton, Jared Goff? I would argue that Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, both of them should probably be in your starting lineup. If you're in at least a 12-man league, I think you've got to start both those guys. I think that Cam Akers is also pretty much a must start at this point, given the workload that he saw last game. He's pretty clearly the running back one for this offense. Jared Goff comes into this game with the 30th best deep ball completion percentage in the NFL. He's really not pushing the ball deep at all. And the reason is he can't do it. He's completely inaccurate when he throws the ball down the field. 30% deep ball completion percentage, which is 30th in the NFL. I mean, I think Taysom Hill has a better deep ball completion percentage than Jared Goff. He really can't throw it deep. What Jared Goff has excelled with this season is his play action completion percentage. He's completing 72% of his passes off of play action. That is the fifth highest rate in the league. There are only 4 quarterbacks in the NFL better in play action completion percentage than Jared Goff. And I think that Bill Belichick is going to be able to figure out Jared Goff a little bit in this game. I don't think he's a very hard quarterback to figure out. You take away the short passes and the play action passes, and this team is going to really struggle. I think that Cam Akers is a must start. I still think you have to start Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. I wouldn't be starting Jared Goff. I think the Patriots are going to win this game. I think that Cam Newton is probably going to go over 15 fantasy points. We have him projected for 18.2 behind me. Jared Goff's projected for 17.7. I think he's going to score less than that. Robbie Anderson or Jonathan Taylor at flex. Robbie Anderson versus Jonathan Taylor to me is an easy one. With Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore out, you have to be playing Robbie Anderson everywhere. He has to get in your starting lineup. And guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, really do appreciate hitting that like button. If you're watching live on TikTok, happy Thursday night, everyone. I'm going to try to get to as many questions as I can. As you can see, I'm very excited tonight because I'm a Pats fan, and it's always fun when we're in prime time. It's also always fun when we're underdogs, and I get to win money on the New England Patriots at this type of value is not something that Pats fans have been able to do very often. Patriots team points over 19.5. Yeah, they're going to score more than 19.5. Hey, Sam, pick two, Woods or Deontay or Terry. I would probably go with Deontay Johnson and Terry McLaurin there. I don't think I'd play Woods over either of those guys against this defense. Josh Allen or Tannehill to start. I don't think you can be benching Josh Allen this week. I'm very excited for that game. That's probably the best game of the week is the Buffalo Bills versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to get an answer, guys. Who is the second best team in the AFC? Is it the Buffalo Bills or is it the Pittsburgh Steelers? Personally, I think it's the Buffalo Bills. I think Josh Allen is going to perform very, very well against this Pittsburgh Steelers team. And again, if you're watching live on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Really do appreciate it. I do think that the Buffalo Bills are going to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers this week. And Steelers fans are going to have a rude awakening because now they're not undefeated anymore. They were riding high on that. And they're going to start to realize they're the third best team in the AFC and that their secondary, like I've been saying all season, the Pittsburgh Steelers secondary is simply not good enough to beat the best teams. It's not going to be good enough to stop Josh Allen. So yes, you have to be starting Josh Allen in fantasy football. To me, he's a top 10 option, probably top 5 this week in fantasy. The Steelers secondary is by far their biggest weakness. They do have a great run defense. Their defense is good. It's a top 5 defense in the NFL. But what matters most in the NFL is passing. And that's why I've been saying all along, they can't beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs are going to toss up 40 points against that Steelers secondary. I think we're going to see Josh Allen excel. I think that the Bills are going to score over 30 this week against the Steelers. Bro, do I start Antonio Brown or Kiki QT? I would probably lean Antonio Brown, just given the matchups. Yes, you do have to start Robbie Anderson. I don't think you can start him over Julio Jones, though. You don't know if Julio Jones is playing. Well, the report I read today said that Julio Jones was out of practice, but that's a pretty common thing now for Julio Jones. I think Julio Jones is getting healthier and healthier, and he's only going to get better in your fantasy lineups. I do think you have to have Julio Jones still in your lineups, and I think I would be willing to go Robbie Anderson over Deontay Johnson this week with Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore out. It would be really shocking if Robbie Anderson doesn't see at least 10 targets. And 10 targets is not something it's really not something very many wide receivers will get in this week 14. So I think Robbie Anderson's ceiling is extremely high. Like Robbie Anderson's, you're playing a range of outcomes. So fantasy football is about a game about a range of outcomes. We're not going to predict things perfectly. The median projections don't tell you everything. That's why in the WalterPicks app, as you can kind of see behind me on TikTok, we give you the boom and bust probability for every player based on 10,000 simulations of the week. And if you were to look at Robbie Anderson's boom and bust probability, you will see exactly what I'm saying. Robbie Anderson's upside is top 10 at the wide receiver position this week because you can project him for 10 plus targets. He has 15 targets in his range of outcomes. Not many wide receivers have that within their range of outcomes. And he's also a deep threat. So Robbie Anderson's ceiling, like his 90th percentile outcome is like over 30 fantasy points. So he has an extremely high ceiling. I think you have to strongly consider putting Robbie Anderson into your lineups. And yes, I've spent over 3 years building out these simulations to simulate each week 10,000 times. You can find it all in the WalterPicks app on the iOS App Store. I gave everyone 25 free start-sit comparisons because I was feeling in the holiday mood, and I know it is the fantasy playoffs. These are the decisions. These small decisions can make or break whether you win a championship or not. A lot of fantasy games, I'd say about 1/3 of fantasy games in the fantasy playoffs are going to come down to between 10 and 15 fantasy points. So making these right start decisions is crucial. And you can go download the WalterPicks app in the iOS App Store. You got 25 free start sit comparisons. It's going to give you all the information you need to make the best possible decisions. And guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, I appreciate you. Definitely hit that like button. Let's see if we can get to 50 likes. Really would appreciate that. Alex C., how's it going, my man? Debo, Ayuk, or Crowder? Debo, Ayuk, or Crowder? Last week I was telling people Debo Samuel over Ayuk based on the target share he had. I think that Crowder and Brashad Perriman are both very intriguing options now that Denzel Mims is out. Crowder and Perriman are both going to be playing 100% of the snaps for the New York Jets. Again, not many wide receivers in the NFL are playing 100% of the snaps. You can very confidently expect both Jamison, Elite Crowder, and Brashad Perriman to be out there for every single snap for the New York Jets. One of those guys is going to outproduce their expectation. I think most fantasy sites and fantasy analysts are ranking them outside the top 24. Jamison, Elite Crowder, or Brashad Perriman, one of them is going to finish as a top 15 wide receiver against a Seahawks secondary that has allowed the most fantasy points per game to the wide receiver position. I'm going to be having a lot of Jamison, Elite Crowder, and a lot of Brashad Perriman in my DFS lineups this week, both in cash and in tournaments. They're both, one of them, at least one of them, is going to go over 20 fantasy points. Cam Akers or Chris Carson? That is a close one. Chris Carson obviously dealing with this nagging injury. He's going up against the Jets. And the one thing you got to understand about the Jets, and Adam Gase, worst coach in the NFL. I ranked him 704th coach in the NFL. There's 32 teams, about 22 coaches per team, so about 705 coaches. Adam Gase comes ranked 705. But their run defense on the Jets is their one strength. They've actually had a pretty good run defense. So you can consider Cam Akers over Chris Carson. I think that one's actually pretty close. I would probably lean towards Cam Akers there. But though, again, I would direct you to the WalterPicks app in the iOS App Store to help you make that decision. And if we look really quickly, we do have Cam Akers here. We have him projected for 10.1 fantasy points tonight, a little bit better than Damian Harris. Drake or Boyd, I would probably go with Boyd, but it is close. I would argue that Kenyon Drake has the safer floor. And again, fantasy football, it is a game about range of outcomes. That is what the game is about. You're not going to perfectly predict the median outcome for every single player, but you can pretty accurately predict their range of outcomes. We can have a 95% confidence interval, for every player. And that's exactly what you're getting in the WalterPicks app in the iOS App Store. And that's what I'm going to try to give you here tonight as well. I do think that the New England Patriots are going to win tonight. I think that they're giving us some nice value, plus 4.5, plus 180 if you're taking the money line on the New England Patriots. I do like it. I really do like it. Aaron, I appreciate your help this season because I made the playoffs in all 5 of my leagues. Aaron, that is what I'm talking about, man. It's a game of range of outcomes, and you played those range of outcomes well. Thoughts on Nick Chubb? Nick Chubb, we're coming out with a video very soon, and it's going to be on my top 10 running backs in the NFL. I posted my top 10 wide receivers in the NFL, by the way, on YouTube. You got to find us on YouTube at WalterPicks. We're live on YouTube right now. Appreciate everybody watching live. Hit that like button if you are. But the video coming out about our top 10 running backs, don't expect my rankings to be conventional because nothing about what we do in the WalterPicks app is conventional. That's why we've been able to outperform ESPN and Yahoo and PFF and any other projections that are out there. And my top 10 running backs are probably going to surprise you. And up in the top 3, and I'm not going to give away his ranking, is Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is arguably the most efficient running back in the NFL right now. Rams defense. Yeah, Rams defense is a pretty good option. Though, again, I do think that the Patriots are going to play pretty well tonight. I like the coaching advantage, Bill Belichick over Sean McVay on a short week. I think that the Patriots offense and defense can outperform expectation tonight. And if you've been following me from the beginning of the season, I really don't think I have said that about the Patriots a single time this season. I'm a Patriots fan, but I'm also a pessimistic Patriots fan. There's not many of those, but I do identify as a pessimistic Patriots fan. And I called Brady leaving. I called the down start to the season. I did not think we were a Super Bowl team. I still don't think the Patriots are a Super Bowl team, but I do think that they're going to beat the Rams tonight. Thoughts on Miles Sanders? Quinn, why you got to do this to me, man? I don't want to go there, Quinn. Miles Sanders kept me from pretty much a perfect week 13. Week 13 was the best week of the year for WalterPicks subscribers, for me personally in DraftKings, FanDuel, player prop bets. It was the best week of the year. We went 7 for 8 on Sunday with our player prop picks, identified using artificial intelligence in the WalterPicks app. We've had 68% accuracy over the last 2 years. We're about to pass our 200th prop pick this week, which is very exciting. We've had 68% accuracy on all of those. And we went 7 for 8 in week 13. And the one that we missed was Miles freaking Sanders, who had his lowest snap percentage of the season, losing first down snaps to Jordan Howard, losing third down snaps to Boston Scott. It was just brutal to watch against a Packers defense allowing the second most fantasy points per game. It was hard to watch Miles Sanders struggle that much. But I don't think you can trust Miles Sanders in your lineups at this point, especially against the Saints defense that is one of the best run defenses of all time. Is Jefferson a must start every week for the playoffs? Yes. Justin Jefferson's ceiling is just too high not to have it in your starting lineups. Do you like Robert Woods tonight? I don't love Robert Woods. I typically rank Cooper Kupp ahead of Robert Woods, though it's really close. And I think they've actually gone around 50-50. One of them does better each week. It has not been a very consistent thing where one of them outproduces the other. So I would argue that they're really, really close in rankings. I lean towards Cooper Kupp. I think Cooper Kupp's a slightly better and more talented receiver than Robert Woods. They're different types of players, though. Tua or Goff? I would lean towards Goff. I don't want Tua really at all. The Chiefs secondary is really good. And Tua, to me, he's been a little underwhelming. He's really performed a lot worse than what we saw Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzmagic, I mean, he was top 10 in every completion percentage metric when he was playing. Top 10 in deep ball completion percentage. Top 10 in play action completion percentage. Top 10 in under duress completion percentage. I mean, and that's not what we've seen from Tua. Kupp or Deontay? I would definitely go Deontay Johnson over Cooper Kupp. Deontay Johnson all day, Christopher Kerr. Yeah, guys, Deontay Johnson, he's at over a 20% target share in every single healthy game that he's played this season. There are very few wide receivers that's true this season. I can count them on one hand how many receivers have over a 20% target share in every healthy game that they played this season. And it's a small list, and it is an elite list. Guys like DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams, Deontay Johnson's in that list with greater than a 20% target share in every single game. Cam Akers or Kiki QT? I would argue Cam Akers has a much safer floor than Kiki QT, but I would probably lean towards Kiki because he is the higher ceiling to me. He went for 140 yards. He does have a tough matchup against the Bears defense that has been pretty good against stopping receivers, but I still like Kiki a little bit more than Akers. Again, we have Akers projected for 10.1 fantasy points tonight, and if you do have start-sit decisions to make for the fantasy playoffs, these are make or break decisions, guys. These will decide if you win the championship or if you go out in the first round. Your contest is probably, your matchup probably going to be within 10 points at the end of the day. So you got to make the right start-sit decisions. And to make the right start-sit decisions, you have to think about the range of outcomes for your player. What is the upside and what is the downside for each player? That's exactly the type of information you're getting in the WalterPicks app on the iOS App Store. I gave everyone 25 free comparisons, and you'll get access to boom and bust probabilities based on 10,000 simulations of Week 14. I don't know what else you could possibly need. You'll also get our median projections using artificial intelligence and how good their matchup rating is. Hey, Sam, who's your quarterback streamer of the week? Or should I just play Cam? Greg, I would rather play... And this one might come back to bite me, Greg. I would probably rather play Sam Darnold than Cam Newton this week. I think Cam Newton has a very, very safe floor given how much he runs the ball. He has led the NFL in red zone rushing attempts per game since week 1. I mean, Cam Newton is the highest probability every single week for a rushing touchdown at the quarterback position, Greg. So if you're in a league where a passing touchdown is 4 points, a rushing touchdown 6, Cam Newton has a pretty good floor. I mean, he's almost definitely going over 10 points, Greg. But I think Sam Darnold has a pretty exciting ceiling against a Seahawks team, allowing the most passing yards per game in the NFL. Their secondary has been absolutely abysmal. I think that Sam Darnold has an interesting ceiling this week as a streamer. I also think Ryan Tannehill has been cooking. If you can get Ryan Tannehill, he's a great option as well. Cam Akers or James Conner? I'd probably lean towards James Conner. You love the WalterPicks app. Thanks, man. I'm glad you do. Do you like Myers or White tonight? I would probably lean towards Jacoby Myers over James White. Guys, the Rams, the strength of the Rams to me is still their defensive line. I know they have Jalen Ramsey in the secondary, but after Jalen Ramsey, I don't think their secondary is that scary. The problem with Jacoby Myers and James White really is the Patriots are a top 3 run-heavy team in the NFL. They want to run the ball. I don't think they're going to be able to establish the run quite like they want to tonight. But if they are able to find some success in the run game and pick apart this secondary, I do think that the Patriots have a very realistic path to winning this game. Hey, Sam, I use the app, but I want your opinion. That's probably the best way to start your start-sit question, Dewey. You use the app as you should, get the best mathematical information you can to make your fantasy decisions for completely free, Dewey. So I appreciate you using the app. Definitely, if you haven't tried out the WalterPicks app yet, you got to go try it out. I've spent probably close to 500 hours at this point of my time building this app for you all. Start Ridley, McLaren, or Zeke at flex. That is a really close one. I would probably lean towards Ridley or McLaren here. And I think they have a higher ceiling than Ezekiel Elliott. I do like Zeke this week. I'm actually playing him in DFS a decent amount. But to me, Calvin Ridley has the highest ceiling, and McLaren's got an extremely safe floor. I mean, McLaren really doesn't have a really bad week this entire season. So I personally would be going with Calvin Ridley out of those three guys. Again, if you've been following me from the beginning, you know I'm someone who likes to take risks. I do like to take risks. It's why I was willing to take Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first round of fantasy drafts, and that one completely blew up in my face once the Le'Veon Bell signing happened. But Clyde had league-winning upside in the best offense in the NFL, and Calvin Ridley has week-winning upside every single week, given how the type of targets that he sees. Calvin Ridley could score 3 touchdowns in a week. He's done it before. Epic games. Sam, before the game, Rams defense or Steelers? Are there better streaming options? App said Rams, by the way. Thanks for letting me know what the app said. Yeah, I think that the Steelers defense is not a very good play this week against the Buffalo Bills. I would probably go with the Rams over the Steelers defense this week. Again, I do think the Patriots can win tonight. I think that mostly has to do with Jared Goff against this defense. That's my main rationale for why the Patriots are going to win this game, is Jared Goff could end up pooping his pants, just like he did in the Super Bowl. When they played against the Patriots. I mean, Jared Goff, let's be real. At best, he's an average quarterback. At best, he's an average quarterback. The only good metric he has really this whole season is he's 5th best in play action completion percentage. He's been pretty good on the short passes. They've designed the offense to have game manager Jared Goff dump it off short and have the receivers and talented running backs do their thing. But I don't think that's going to work against a coach like Bill Belichick. I'm not so sure a such simplified offense. This really is. I mean, they do a lot before the snap, but in terms of what they're doing, passing the ball, it's a pretty simple offense. It's play action. It's short passes. I think Bill Belichick is going to be very well prepared for that. So that's why I think the Patriots can win. But I still think the Rams defense is a pretty good option in fantasy. App says I should play Brandon Cooks over Jamison Elite Crowder. Alex, what do you think? Yeah, personally, I have Jamison Elite Crowder in my starting lineups. I don't have to make that exact decision. I would argue Jamison Elite Crowder has a significantly higher floor than Brandon Cooks, though Brandon Cooks probably does have the higher ceiling still just because he's not in close proximity to Adam Gase. Anytime you're playing a player that's been in close proximity to Adam Gase for too long of a period, you're going into a risk there because Adam Gase, everything that goes near Adam Gase dies. I mean, it's just you can't perform efficiently for an extended period of time in close proximity to Adam Gase. But I do think that Jamison Lee Crowder still has a really high floor with Denzel Mims out. He's playing 100% of the snaps. He's going to see, in my mind, at least 10 targets. So if you're going for the safe play, like if you really just want 10 fantasy points at least, you go with Jamison Elite Crowder. But if you're going for the ceiling, it's Brandon Cooks. I mean, Brandon Cooks still, to me, is the clear number one option for Deshaun Watson. So I would probably lean towards Cooks personally. But if you're going for the floor, it's up to you. I would probably go Jamison Elite Crowder. And by the way, some of you might be wondering, why did I design this app that doesn't just tell you who to start? It says who do I start tool. In the app does not just spit out exactly who you should start. What it does is it gives you the information you need to make your own decision, because the most fun part of fantasy football, everyone, and I want you to take my advice. I hope you learned something when you tune in, but the most fun part about fantasy football is that you decide. You make your own decisions about your fantasy lineups. And when you win the championship, it was you that won. And don't celebrate too soon, guys, even if you had a great season. It is about winning the championship. And guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, I really do appreciate you hitting that like button. It helps us out a ton. It really does help. It takes you like 2 seconds. Hit that like button. If you're watching live on TikTok and you haven't checked out our YouTube channel yet, at WalterPicks, you got to go check it out for sure. Josh Allen or Justin Herbert? Justin Herbert's a guy I've seen a lot of questions about this week, and it's not surprising given how bad the Chargers played against the Patriots in their last game. I think that Justin Herbert's going to finish as a top 10 quarterback this week. I think Josh Allen, though, is going to finish as a top 5 quarterback this week against the Steelers. So I would lean towards Josh Allen over Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert, to me, has a little bit more risk just based on that last game. Akers or McKissick? I'd for sure, Keegan. I would for sure go Akers in a standard league. In a half PPR league, it's much closer. In a PPR league, though, it's pretty much McKissick, and it's not even close. McKissick's probably going to get more catches than Akers has points in a PPR league. Why is there only 2 prop picks? Hoodmouse. The reason there's only 2 prop picks for the premium subscribers in the WalterPicks app on the iOS App Store is the way that we identify player props is this. We run artificial intelligence and machine learning to predict every single piece of player performance. Then we analyze those against all of the lines that are out there in the web, and we have our artificially intelligent algorithm spit out the prop picks that it has over 65% confidence in hitting. So there could have been 0 prop picks tonight. The way that the algorithm works is we are not going to be betting on things that we are not over 65% confident in. And this is exactly why we've had a positive ROI since the beginning of the algorithm. Over almost 200 picks now, 68% accuracy. Since 68% accuracy, we programmed it to have 65% accuracy, though it's had 68% accuracy. And the reason is we only bet on its most confident picks. And this is a hard thing for sports bettors because sports bettors want to bet more than just 2 picks. I understand, but the algorithm does not care about your sports betting habits. It cares about what is over 65% likely to happen. And that is the 2 props that have been identified tonight. And I got a lot of money riding on both of those tonight, as I do with every single prop pick identified by Walter. I actually used a lot of the money that I won last year. I won a bunch off the prop picks, and I used that money to build this app. There was a lot of the money that I was able to invest in this business was the money that Walter got me himself. So I definitely would push back on wanting more props than what Walter identifies. Lamar or Kyler? App said Lamar. Yeah, I would lean Lamar as well. I certainly am worried about Kyler Murray. He's clearly been held back a little by his injury. Favorite DFS plays tonight? Yes, I do really like him. I like Bird on the Patriots as a high upside play in tournaments. And we saw him have a week winning performance already in tournaments once this season when he went over 100 yards and a touchdown. I think he still is capable of that. He's playing over 80% of the snaps in every game that he's played for the Patriots this season. He's been better than N'Keal Harry, who, by the way, I'm repping N'Keal Harry's jersey tonight. I thought he was going to be a much better player when we drafted him, which is the night I bought this jersey. Taysom or Cam Newton? I would lean towards Taysom Hill over Cam Newton against this Rams offense. The Patriots offense is projected for 20 points tonight. I think that the Saints offense is going to be projected for much more than that. Cam Akers or J.K. Dobbins? I saw this one a bunch too. 2 rookies that you have to decide between. 2 rookies that are seeing increased roles in their offenses, though J.K. Dobbins to me has a lot more competition than Cam Akers. I would lean towards Cam Akers. Do you like Josh Reynolds or Bird tonight? Because I like Bird a little bit more than Josh Reynolds. So Josh Reynolds has been more and more involved in this offense for the Rams. I do still like Bird a little bit more than him. Really need help, please. Jacob Pauly, how's it going, my man? Pick 2 running backs to start. Eckler, Jacobs, Booker, Sanders, Taylor, Drake. That was a lot of names you just made me read, Jacob. I'm going to go as fast as possible. I would probably go with Austin Eckler and Jonathan Taylor, though I do not think Miles Sanders can be anywhere near your starting lineups. We saw a report come out this week. Miles Sanders is excited to try some option plays with Jalen Hurts. Well, guess what, Miles Sanders? It's not going to matter that much for our fantasy lineups if you're only on the field for 40% of the snaps and Boston Scott's still getting the 3rd down reps and I'm blanking on his name now. Jordan Howard is stealing some of the 1st down snaps from you, and you're up against a Saints defense that is one of the best rushing defenses of all time. And guys, Miles Sanders, he's let us down enough. You got to get him out of your starting lineups this week. Do not start Miles Sanders. If you're just tuning in, I just talked for about 3 minutes about this, but just don't start Miles Sanders. You're welcome. Favorite DFS captain tonight? Yes, I think my favorite DFS captain tonight is it's either Cam Akers or it's Cam Newton. I think you got to go with one of the Cams. I also do like Bird as kind of if you have Bird in your captain spot, he's probably going to be under 5% in the captain spot for people. If you have him in your captain spot and he goes over 100 yards, you're probably going to win the tournament. Like there's a pretty good chance. So I do like him as a dart throw in your captain spot as well. But usually you kind of need one of the quarterbacks to do well in the captain spot if you're going to win. I also think playing the Patriots defense is an interesting play. I think you can do that on FanDuel. I'm not so sure about DraftKings. I do think that the Patriots defense, no, I think you can actually. The Patriots defense to me is an interesting upside play tonight as well. Nick, hey, Walter, pick 2. My name's actually Nick. My name's actually Sam. It's a classic mistake. I spent over 500 hours, over 3 years building an algorithm that uses artificial intelligence to help us all win our fantasy football leagues. I named it Walter. And my name is Sam. Then I built an app about the algorithm. It's called WalterPicks. It's a classic mistake, honest mistake, Nick. So no worries at all, man. Pick 2, AP, Ty Johnson, Edmonds, Singletary, and Mostert. Those are honestly all pretty crappy options. 2 of them will probably do well, though. I would probably lean towards Mostert and Ty Johnson. We'll see if Frank Gore is able to suit up, though. Do I start Akers or Eckler? Definitely Austin Eckler, guys. Austin Eckler still possesses top 5 upside, especially against a bad Falcons defense. Ayuk or Deebo Samuel? I would lean towards Ayuk at this point. I keep flip-flopping. Defenses to stream. I mean, you had to add the Seattle Seahawks defense, guys, weeks ago. The Jamal Adams revenge game is very exciting. I think Jamal Adams revenge game is the Jamal Adams revenge game. I mean, how many touchdowns is Jamal Adams scoring this week? Over under 1. Seriously. App says Miles Sanders over Akers. Do you agree, Joey? And this is where it comes down to your gut, Joey. And the gut does play a factor in fantasy football. It absolutely does. There's a range of outcomes for every player. And the range of outcomes is actually probably wider than you guys realize. This is a high variance game. It's an extremely high variance game. That's why it's so much fun to predict. And that's why we were able to build the most accurate algorithm in the world, more accurate than ESPN, Yahoo, PFF, and others. Between just two 23-year-olds in a machine learning class, we outproduced all of those platforms. But going back to your original question, of Miles Sanders over Cam Akers. I've already decided I refuse to start Miles Sanders in any of my leagues. He's basically on the waiver wire, though I'm not dropping him on the waiver wire because he's too good. But I've already decided he's not making my starting lineup again. I don't care what he's projected for because he's up against a Saints. There's just too much working against him. The coaching staff clearly is not giving him enough playing time. The offensive line is just atrocious. Personally, I would lean towards Cam Akers over Miles Sanders. And it makes sense why Miles Sanders is projected for more points than Cam Akers because we know Miles Sanders, he's a top 10 talent in the NFL. I mean, I definitely would not argue against that, but his situation to me is just so much worse than Cam Akers. Dylan, hey Sam, who should I play against you this week? Goff or Brady? Oh, you got to decide. Dylan, we both missed out on the playoffs in that league we're in together. And it was a brutal year. That was I'm in 8 fantasy leagues. Dylan is in one of my non-high stakes fantasy leagues. I'm in 6 high stakes fantasy leagues. Out of those fantasy leagues, I've made it to the playoffs in 4 of them. And Dylan, if I get to decide for you, I'm telling you to start Jared Goff, man, because Jared Goff absolutely has a chance to just completely poop his pants tonight. And that is not an expression I use lightly. And if you watch the Super Bowl back in, what was it? I forget the year. I think it must have been 3 years ago now with Jared Goff against the Patriots. That's exactly what Jared Goff did. It was ugly. It was on national television. I think it could happen again tonight, Dylan. Jared Goff, he's a very simple player. He throws the ball short. They designed the offense so that he can make accurate throws short near the line of scrimmage, and they can let their talented wide receivers do their thing. And I think that isn't a good strategy against a coach like Bill Belichick. You'll go with Brady then for sure. Damn, I should have talked down Brady. Hey, Sam, premium member on the WalterPicks app. James, thank you for being a premium subscriber, man. The premium subscribers in the WalterPicks app help us out a ton. Really, every single one of our premium subscribers, James, brings me one step closer to a dream come true of doing this full time. Worth every penny, in my opinion. Thanks, James. Thanks, man. Do you think I should start Akers or Hines this week? Close one. It's definitely a close one. I would probably lean towards Akers. I think that Hines, you could argue Hines has a higher ceiling, though it's probably pretty close. And to me, Cam Akers has a much higher floor. So I would go with Cam Akers there. Hey, Sam, what do I do with Golladay? Jordan, you should have been crying about Golladay. I've had a few nice shower cries about Kenny Golladay. I mean, I'm kidding. Maybe. So Kenny Golladay, guys, I mean, they've just completely screwed us with the injury reports. The coaching staff has just lied. They just straight up lied about what was going on with Kenny Golladay. Literally a month ago, they said he was day-to-day, and now it's 4 weeks later. He's still not practicing with a hip injury. And when he's back, he should be in your starting lineup because he's that good, but it's tough to trust him. He's really crushed fantasy teams. It's just brutal. Akers, Swift, or Mike Davis? Akers, Swift, or Mike Davis? I mean, with the news about Christian McCaffrey being out, I think it's definitely Mike Davis there. Justin Jefferson or A.J. Brown? I would lean towards A.J. Brown as the higher floor, similar ceiling play, but I love Justin Jefferson. Bro, Justin Jefferson over AJ. It's close. It's absolutely close. Justin Jefferson's probably going to have another huge day against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think both of them are going to do really well, though. I really do like both. I think Justin Jefferson and AJ Brown, both of them have top 5 upside every single week. And I do think Justin Jefferson is very much still in play for Offensive Rookie of the Year. And guys, if you're watching live on YouTube and you aren't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't hit like yet, hit that like button. Helps us out a lot more than you probably realize. Takes you like 2 seconds to hit that like button really quick. We'll see if we can get to 100 likes before kickoff. I made the playoffs. Are there any defenses I should pick up ahead of time for next week? Yes, go There's a bunch of defenses that are pretty good. I think the Arizona Cardinals have a few good games down the stretch. The Carolina Panthers are a pretty good option. I'd like the Seahawks this week. I have had the Seahawks on my playoff teams. I think in a month in advance, I picked up the Seahawks defense. Go see who the Jets are playing. Add those players. Thank you for your opinion. Yeah, no problem, man. Yeah, and that's exactly what you're getting. My opinion. To get our artificially intelligent algorithms opinion, which has been more accurate than ESPN, Yahoo, Numberfire, PFF, any other source of projections, you can go download the app for free on the iOS App Store. You get 25 free start sit comparisons, and you'll get what artificially intelligent algorithm is saying about what's going to happen this week based on its algorithm and based on 10,000 simulations of the week, giving you ceiling and floor outcomes for every single player. Browns defense or Steelers defense. Oh, it's a close one. I do think that the Steelers defense is not a great option this week against the Buffalo Bills. I think that the Buffalo Bills offense is going to perform really, really well. So I would probably lean towards the Cleveland Browns, but I don't love them either. That, by the way, that's probably the second best game of the week. The game of the week that has the most playoff implications is that Browns versus Raven game. That game is by far the most important game in terms of how much it impacts playoffs. I'm very intrigued by that game. I think that the Ravens are going to win that game. I don't think that the Browns or Steelers, I think should probably be going to try to add a different defense. Go see if the Panthers, the Cardinals, go see if the Seahawks are available. Sam, Akers or Rojo or Miles Sanders? Again, I want nothing to do with Miles Sanders, and so I'm okay going with Akers. I would argue Ronald Jones has a higher ceiling than Cam Akers, but Cam Akers probably has the safer floor. Personally, though, I would probably go Ronald Jones. Godwin or Woods? I would go Godwin over Woods for sure, especially with Mike Evans dealing with a slight hamstring injury. There is a chance that the hamstring injury from Mike Evans isn't just this like day off at practice. It could actually lead towards him being questionable for game time decision and maybe even being limited when he does play. Gaskin or Mostert? I would lean towards Gaskin there. What wide receiver do you think has the highest ceiling? I mean, the best wide receiver in the NFL is Davante Adams. And to me, there's really no arguing against it. He has had one of the best seasons of all time. He's really had one of the best 3 seasons in a row of all time. Davante Adams is the best wide receiver in the NFL. To me, Davante Adams has the highest floor, but the highest ceiling, I mean, we've all seen it already this season. It's Tyreek Hill. The ceiling for Tyreek Hill is just insane. Like when we crunch these 10,000 simulations every week, just watching the range of outcomes for Tyreek Hill to shape up it's truly art. I mean, it's absolutely insane. The 90th percentile range of outcome for Tyreek Hill is literally 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, that is what he's capable of, tethered to Patrick Mahomes, who to me is very clearly the best player in the NFL. He's going to end up winning the MVP. I think that Patrick Mahomes, by the way, and if you're a Pats fan, you might want to mute your ears here, but I'm just being realistic. I think Patrick Mahomes has a very realistic chance that by the end of his career that we're saying he's the greatest of all time. Right now it's Tom Brady, but I do think Mahomes is that good. Zeke or Harris? Definitely Zeke for me. Gallman or Carson? I would argue that Wayne Gallman is a slightly better option than Chris Carson. Dealing with an injury, the Seahawks are never honest about the injuries either. Pete Carroll's the worst with that. He's never honest about what's going on with the injuries. He's always overly optimistic. And Wayne Gallman's really been on a tear. Sam, pick one. Robert Woods, Robbie Anderson, or Jameson, Elite Crowder? I would go with Robbie Anderson again. Again, Robbie Anderson, without DJ Moore or Curtis Samuel this week, Robbie Anderson has 15 targets in his range of outcomes. His median range of outcome is like 9 targets, and the types of targets that he sees makes Robbie Anderson pretty much a must start this week. His upside is top 5 wide receiver. He's probably going to go over 100 yards and a touchdown. I don't think you can be benching Robbie Anderson. Hey Sam, should I start Woods or Michael Thomas? I would lean towards Michael Thomas. Mike Davis or Chase Edmonds? Definitely Mike Davis. That one's not even close. And again, if you have start-sit decisions that you need to make, and these are some crucial start-sit decisions, guys, this could be the make or break decision for your entire season. This could decide whether you go out in the first round or literally whether you win the championship. And that's why I gave everyone 25 free comparisons in the WalterPicks app, start-sit comparisons, giving you our artificially intelligent projections that have been more accurate than ESPN, Yahoo, PFF. They've been more accurate than any projections out there. And you get boom and bust probabilities based on 10,000 simulations of the week. Really everything you could need. And if you wanted something more, it would probably be matchup rating. And look, that's exactly what we have. By the way, the Patriots defense has allowed the fourth most fantasy points to quarterbacks this season, but I don't think that's going to be the case tonight. Lamar or Rodgers? I would lean towards Aaron Rodgers. I don't think you can bench Aaron Rodgers with how good he's been in the touchdown column this season. Hey Sam, thoughts on Peyton Barber this week if Gibson is out? Yeah, Peyton Barber is one of those plays that people are going to tout this week, Ben. And there's going to be fantasy football analysts out there in the universe telling you that Peyton Barber is a sleeper this week, that Peyton Barber is even a DFS value, Ben. They're going to try to convince you to risk your dollars, your hard-earned dollars on Peyton Barber, and I would definitely advise you against that, Ben, because Peyton Barber is one of the least talented running backs in the NFL. J.D. McKissick is the one who's going to see the targets. And so his ceiling to me is like 50 yards and a touchdown. His floor is more like 15 yards and no touchdowns. So I want nothing to do with Peyton Barber. Michael Thomas or Deontay Johnson. I would lean towards Deontay Johnson, though it's very close. It's very close. I don't want to decide between those two guys. Gaskin or Swift. Guys, DeAndre Swift is not someone you can trust in your starting lineup this week. I know it's hard because the last game that DeAndre Swift played was the best game of his young career, but I have a feeling, and this is very realistic, that DeAndre Swift is going to be eased back in. And given what we've seen the Lions do in the past, they're going to continue to feed Adrian Peterson at the goal line. They're not going to phase Kerryon Johnson out completely. So I think that DeAndre Swift just has too low of a floor. We know his ceiling, but his floor is just so low coming back from injury. Why is Deontay Johnson's projection so low this week on the WalterPicks app? Let's go see what Deontay Johnson's projection is. I'm interested now because Deontay Johnson is a guy that I like a lot. He's one of my favorite, most consistent wide receivers in the NFL. Though, again, this is my opinion, not our artificially intelligent algorithm opinion. That crunches its information just based off numbers. So let's see what Deontay Johnson is projected for in the WalterPicks app. We have Deontay Johnson projected for... and I'm pulling it up right here. Oh, that's not Deontay Johnson. Someone just tell me in the chat, what is Deontay Johnson projected for? I'm on my phone, so I can't access the WalterPicks app. It's a little frustrating. Jones Jr. or Swift? Jones Jr. or Swift? I would definitely go Marvin Jones. Taysom Hill or Brady? I'd probably go Brady. What's your lock prop bet tonight? Owen, we have two prop picks. We have two prop picks identified using our artificially intelligent algorithm tonight. I'm in on both of them hard. And if you want access to them, you got to go be a premium subscriber in the WalterPicks app on the iOS App Store. We've given away 11 free player prop picks this season. 11 we've given away 14 free player prop picks this season. 11 of them have hit. And I'm not going to jeopardize that accuracy. And I'm not going to jeopardize the value of our premium subscription by giving away too many free player prop picks, because this is a very valuable service, guys. We've had 68% accuracy identifying player props. So you can start the 3-day free trial right now on the iOS App Store. Start for 3 days. See if you like the premium service or not. See how the prop picks do tonight or not. See if you can pay for your subscription. The subscription is really not that expensive. It's $5 a month. You can probably pay for your subscription with just one prop bet from tonight. Most, if not all of our premium subscribers at this point have already paid for their subscription. I got texts from my friends who have subscribed that they've made 10 times what they paid for our app in a single week. So it's up to you how you use the subscription. But of course, I would recommend starting that 3-day free trial. Antonio Brown or Jacoby Myers? I would lean towards Antonio Brown. You gave my 2 locks before. Appreciate it, brother. Owen, of course, man. And we will have our free player prop pick again leading up to the games on Sunday. We're live for the 3 hours before football every single Sunday. You got to tune into that if you haven't been. And that's when we've been giving away our free player prop pick every single week. And we are 11 for 14. I mean, that's over 80%. I give away my most confident pick of the week. And we have absolutely cashed in this past week. It was Nick Chubb over 8 receiving yards. They set the line at 8. He had a 16-yard catch in the first drive. I mean, it was like stealing money. Antonio Brown or McKissick? I would lean towards Antonio Brown. Should I start Kupp over Parker? I would argue yes. I think that I would start Cooper Kupp over Devontae Parker. The Kansas City Chiefs have really had an underrated secondary all season. Brian Seastone, Sam, where do you bet on player props? Yeah, good question. There's a few good apps out there that you can bet on. 13.8 for Deontay Johnson. Matt, that seems like a pretty reasonable projection. Thanks for letting me know, by the way. Matt's one of our original premium subscribers. I appreciate him very much. Brian, To bet on player props, there's a bunch of places you can do it. You can go on DraftKings Sportsbook. You can go on FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in the right states. There's also an app called Underdog that has pretty good props out there. Also an app called WalterPicks that you can go bet on. There's a bunch of different sources. Do a little researching. There's more than even what I just said. MT or Corey Davis. I would lean. There is a way pretty much everywhere though to bet legally on player props. MT or Corey Davis. I would lean towards Michael Thomas, though it's close. And Corey Davis was another lock of a prop that we hit last week. Cole Beasley or Bobby Woods. Yeah, we called the Cole Beasley bounce back sleeper week 2 weeks ago. All the fantasy analysts out there were touting Cole Beasley as a huge sleeper. With John Brown out, he didn't have a good week and everyone faded him. But we knew that Cole Beasley's upside was still there, and he definitely hit it in this past week. I think that Cole Beasley might be a better option than Bobby Woods this week. Will Woods get locked up? Yeah, Woods probably will get locked up. I don't think that Jared Goff is going to have a very good game. I like Cooper Kupp more than Robert Woods tonight. I do think that one of them is probably going to have a good game. Though overall, I think Jared Goff is going to struggle. I think the Patriots are going to win as underdogs, and I think Jared Goff is going to get a little bit exposed. Hey, Sam, pick 2, Cooper, Lockett, Beasley, or Davis. Caesar, thanks for tuning in, man. I would probably lean towards Lockett and Beasley there. Zeke or Jarvis Landry. Oh, that's a close one. Landry has really been picking it up over the last few games. Jarvis Landry has been a wide receiver 1. It really came out of nowhere. He didn't have this type of consistency when Odell Beckham first went out, but now it's been pretty consistent. I think I would still probably lean away from Jarvis Landry in that situation, though. I think Zeke has a pretty good floor this week. Cooper or Akers? I would probably go with Amari Cooper over Akers. I do like Akers tonight, though. Jacob's set to play, so Akers or Devontae Parker at flex. I would probably go Akers over Parker. Yeah, I am starting Cam Akers tonight. I do think Cam Akers has a pretty good floor, guys. Cam Akers is the clear running back 1 option. I saw a question here. How are you ranking the Bucs wide receivers? Ryan, this has been a tough question all season. How are we ranking these Bucs wide receivers? Really, for most of the season, I've ranked them like this. Chris Godwin, number 1. Antonio Brown, number 2, Mike Evans, number 3. And I've really been slightly wrong about that. It has really ended up being Mike Evans, number 1, Chris Godwin, number 2, Antonio Brown, number 3. Though I think any given week, any of these guys can finish number 1. And I'm sticking to my gut on these rankings of Chris Godwin, number 1, Antonio Brown, number 2, and Mike Evans, number 3, especially with his hamstring injury for Mike Evans. Okay, Ben, you got a tough one. Peyton Barber or Miles Sanders? Oh, Ben, why you got to do this to me, man? In that situation, Ben, I'm okay trotting out Miles Sanders just because, you can't be playing like at some point. Volume is what's most important in fantasy football. The most predictive thing for running backs, especially in fantasy football, is volume. And that shouldn't be very surprising. Like guys who touch the ball more, score more points. It's not that of a big of a revelation, though it is a pretty good thing to fall back on when making start-sit decisions. And it is the most heavily weighted thing in our artificially intelligent algorithm that identified that as the most predictive thing for fantasy football points, though. It's at some point you got to look at talent, and there's a point where you do so. And in the Peyton Barber versus Miles Sanders comparison, that is where you got to draw the line on volume versus talent. And I don't care if Peyton Barber's touching the ball more than Miles Sanders. I still want to be starting Miles Sanders over him. Miles Sanders is at least 3 times better than Peyton Barber is at the game of football. Kyler or Taysom? I would lean towards Taysom Hill. Kupp, Lockett, Evans. Who do I sit? I would probably lean towards sitting Mike Evans. Given his hamstring thing, I would probably just lean towards sitting Mike Evans. Watkins, Tim Patrick, or Gallup? Oh, Ian. That's a close one. That's a deep league, too, that you're making that decision. I would probably lean towards Tim Patrick there. How will Kupp do? I think Kupp will do pretty well. I've always been a big fan of Cooper Kupp. And guys, if you haven't liked on YouTube yet, hit that like button. It takes 2 seconds. Do appreciate it. If you're watching live on TikTok and you haven't subscribed to us on YouTube yet, we're having a great time on YouTube, guys. We're close to passing 2,000 YouTube subscribers in under 3 weeks. Akers or Zeke? I would definitely go Zeke. Akers or Drake? I would probably go with Cam Akers over Kenyon Drake. Hey Sam, love the brand and your work. Beer Manate. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Juju, Chase Claypool, Kareem Hunt. Pick one. If I had to pick one out of those guys, it can't be Chase Claypool. Chase Claypool really has started to see less and less work in that offense. I would probably go Juju. Akers or Davis? If it's Mike Davis, I would go Mike Davis over Akers. Debo Samuel or Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Clyde Edwards-Helaire is another one of those guys who, and this is hard for me to say because, again, I'm in 6 high-stakes fantasy leagues. I mean, I have thousands of dollars risked on fantasy football, and there wasn't a single player I had more money risked on going into the season than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And the second Le'Veon Bell went there, I set sail to my Clyde Edwards-Helaire shares. I sold low because since Le'Veon Bell signed there, his workload has decreased in almost every single game. So I don't want him anywhere near your starting lineups. Cards or Pats defense? Let's ride with the Pats, man. The Patriots defense has a really good chance to absolutely destroy Jared Goff tonight. Woods or Kupp? Who's better? I like Cooper Kupp as the better option. Gaskin or Connor? I like James Conner a little bit more than Myles Gaskin. Corey Davis or Chase Claypool? Definitely Corey Davis. Guys, Corey Davis, that's a better question. Corey Davis or McLaren? That's the type of ranking Corey Davis is at this point. So definitely Davis in that first one. But guys, Corey Davis, he's gotten over 10 fantasy points in 9 out of his 10 games. He's been one of the most consistent wide receivers in the NFL this season. And I wouldn't be playing him over a guy like Terry McLaurin still, but he absolutely is a wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside at this point. And he's one of the most consistent options in fantasy, though Terry McLaurin is as well. Guys, Mike Davis, Peyton Barber, or Devontae Booker, this one's not even close. It is Mike Davis, and it by a mile. It's not close at all. Stop considering starting Peyton Barber, guys. It is a complete trap. This is the traps people fall into in the fantasy playoffs. They overanalyze, and you end up debating yourself. Should I start Peyton Barber this week? Am I actually outsmarting my league mates by picking up this guy who's probably going to see 10 to 15 carries? No, you're not outsmarting anyone by playing Peyton Barber. Get him away, as far away from your starting lineups as you possibly can. Yeah, I like Ty Johnson more. I like Ty Johnson more than Peyton Barber, especially if Frank Gore is out. Stafford or Taysom Hill? I would probably lean towards Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford went for 400 yards against a good Bears defense. I mean, that Bears defense is no joke. And he threw for 400 yards. Stafford is cooking, guys. And I do like Stafford. Update on Christian McCaffrey. Yes, when I woke up this morning, I was under the impression that Christian McCaffrey was back this week. I was like 70 to 80% confident that Christian McCaffrey was going to return. Not 100%. I'm really never 100% about anything. There's pretty much never 100. You can't really be 100% confident about like anything really in the world. But there is now I've had a change of probability of Christian McCaffrey playing based on the reports today, based on what their head coach said. Now I'm more at like 10% chance that Christian McCaffrey plays. I think that it's very unlikely that he plays this week. And that means Mike Davis is a running back 2 with running back 1 upside. So Mike Davis, put him into your starting lineups. Christian McCaffrey, take him out. Hopefully you can make it to the next week of the playoffs without him, because I think you're going to be without him. AJ Brown or DeAndre Hopkins? Definitely DeAndre Hopkins. To me, you have to start DeAndre Hopkins. There's never a time to sit DeAndre Hopkins unless you're playing Devontae Adams over him. And you should like, if you have both of them, I don't even know how you got both of them, but you got to start both of them. AJ Brown or Hopkins? Yeah, there's no one I'm starting over. Like DeAndre Hopkins, he is a top 5 wide receiver every single week. And again, everyone, if you have start-sit questions, I spent over 400 hours building an app. I've spent over almost 4 years now. I think we're coming up at the 4-year mark, Dylan. We're at 4 years now. I spent building this artificially intelligent algorithm that has the most accurate projections on the face of the earth that I've tracked it against. And correct me if I'm wrong, if you want to track our projections and you've been more accurate, I'm definitely interested in knowing that. But everyone that I've tracked this against, ESPN, Yahoo, PFF, NumberFire, every other source of projections that I've tracked this against, we've been significantly more accurate than. And I gave everyone 25 completely free start-sit comparisons. You can go download the app for free. You can sign up for completely free. You can then do 25 start-sit comparisons. Should be enough to get you through the fantasy playoffs for completely free. And what those start-sit comparisons will get you is boom and bust probabilities for every player based on 10,000 simulations of each week, and our artificially intelligent median projection outcomes for every player. Just like you're seeing behind me, this is what you'll see in the app. Cam Newton projected for 18.2 points. You're seeing behind me on TikTok, not on YouTube, of course. And Jared Goff projected for 17.7. I think Goff's getting below that, though. I think Goff has a pretty good chance to poop the bed tonight. Hey, Sam, on WalterPicks, it says I should start the Pats defense over Steelers defense. Do you agree? Yeah, I actually do agree on that one. And that's probably that probably goes against conventional wisdom based on how the defenses have performed this season. But this week, man, I like the Pats defense more than the Steelers defense in fantasy football. Again, I think that the Bills are going to beat the Steelers this week in the most exciting game of the week. Not the most important. The most important is Ravens versus the Browns. But the most exciting game of the week, absolutely, is the Steelers versus the Bills. We're going to get to know, right in front of our eyes, we will get to tell on national television who is the second best team in the AFC. I think it's the Bills. I think the Bills are going to pick apart the Steelers secondary, who has really struggled this season. It's been the weakness of the whole team is the secondary of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Akers or Dobbins? I would lean towards Akers. Akers or Sanders? I would lean towards Akers. I want nothing to do with Miles Sanders anymore. I'm done with him disappointing me. What do you think about Jonathan Taylor? Tazi, happy Hanukkah. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Happy Hanukkah, everyone. If that's a holiday that you celebrate. Akers or Dobbins? Leaning Akers. Yeah, I'm leaning towards Akers as well, Matt. It's obviously really close, and they're both rookies, so they both come with a slightly increased risk, but I lean towards Akers as well. I think Akers does have a pretty good floor tonight, and to me, it is more obvious that Cam Akers is the running back one for the Rams than it is that J.K. Dobbins is the number one option for the Ravens. Like, I won't be too surprised if it ends up being Mark Ingram that gets the goal line carry for the Ravens. I would be pretty surprised if Cam Akers isn't the clear running back one tonight. Dalvin Cook playoff schedule. Yes, we've known this has been a tough playoff schedule really for the last couple of months. We've known that Dalvin Cook is going to struggle in the fantasy playoffs in terms of matchups, but Dalvin Cook is good enough that he is matchup proof. So obviously you're starting him in every single league, but that's why I was telling people really this whole season that you can trade Dalvin Cook for Derrick Henry straight up if you're already in the playoffs, because Derrick Henry, guys, over the next 3 weeks, Derrick Henry is going to cement himself into NFL history. He is going to be the first player since Barry Sanders in the late 1990s to average over 100 rushing yards per game in back-to-back seasons. I mean, guys, we might not see another running back do this in over a decade. Back-to-back seasons, averaging over 100 rushing yards per game in the past heaviest NFL era of all time. I mean, they're throwing the ball significantly more than they used to. And Derrick Henry is so good that the Tennessee Titans have to give him the ball 20 plus times a game. And he's now averaging over 100 rushing yards per game in back-to-back seasons, and he's probably going to average over 150 yards per game in these last 3 games. I mean, the matchups that he has, he's probably going over 150 against the Jaguars this week. QB help, Darnold, Cousins, Stafford, or Rivers. Yeah, all those guys, Wayne, are in the same type of tier. I would probably rank those guys really quickly as Cousins number 1, Stafford number 2, Darnold number 3, and Rivers number 4. I traded Henry for CMC, SMH. Oh, Wayne, that's brutal, man. How do you feel about Cooper Kupp tonight? I think Cooper Kupp can do pretty well tonight. I think the Rams as a whole, though, could struggle on offense. I think Jared Goff could struggle. I think the Patriots are going to win as underdogs. It's very rare as Pats fans that we get to bet on the Patriots and get such good value in return. I mean, plus 180 on the New England Patriots defense coming off that performance that they just had. And now they get to play Jared Goff, who we've already seen the Patriots play very well against. Jared Goff, bottom, he's not top 15 in any completion percentage metric. He's actually bottom in the league, number 30 in deep ball completion percentage. I mean, Jared Goff cannot throw the ball deep. There's no deep ball game in this offense. And to me, in the NFL, that is the single most important thing to being a successful offense is passing the ball deep. And by the way, the Patriots aren't very good at it either. But Jared Goff, to me, he's going to struggle. This could be a pretty low-scoring game. I think that the one thing Jared Goff has excelled at this season is play action. They've clearly designed this offense to play towards Jared Goff's strengths, which is throwing the ball short because he's not that good of a quarterback. He's average at best, but he has the 5th highest completion percentage coming off of play action in the NFL. There's only 4 quarterbacks in the league that have a higher completion percentage off of play action than Jared Goff. But I think that the Patriots are going to be able to take that away. I mean, it's a pretty predictable offense. Mostert or Swift? I would probably lean towards Swift over Mostert, but it's close. I would argue Mostert has the higher ceiling and Swift Mostert has the higher floor and Swift has the higher ceiling. Saints offense was more than fine with no deep ball. Yeah, Cole, that is very true, Cole. That's a very good point. Though it is obviously a little bit different of an offense than the Rams. Sam, do I start Pats or Colts D? I like the Pats D. Damian Harris or Bernard? I would probably go. It's close. It is very close. Bernard has a really good matchup against the Cowboys team that, oh my God. I mean, against the Ravens, it was like Everyone in the world watching that game knew that the Ravens were running the ball. The Cowboys knew that the Ravens were running the ball, and they literally could not stop the run. It was embarrassing for their run defense, and that is a pretty good sign for Giovanni Bernard. So I'd probably go Gio. Hey, Sam, Rams or 49ers D? I would probably lean towards the Rams D tonight. Pats defense or Rams defense? I like the Pats defense a little bit more than the Rams defense. Mike Evans or Robert Woods or Kiki QT? I would lean towards Mike Evans there, even with the hamstring injury. CMC is out this week. Yes, almost definitely he's out. Though I don't think it's officially been confirmed. Zeke, Ayuk, Akers, Crowder. I would go Zeke and Crowder there. Again, guys, Jamison, Elite Crowder, and Brashard Perriman without Denzel Mims this week, both of them are going to play 100% of the snaps with the New York Jets. They're up against the Seattle Seahawks secondary that's allowing the most fantasy points per game to wide receivers this season. Like, it is a very smart thing to be doing in DFS, which I am doing this week in head-to-head contests. Just start both of them. And one of them is probably going to go over 20 points against the Seahawks secondary. Start Cam Akers tonight. Yes, Cam Akers is definitely a start tonight. A solid flex running back 2 option. Remember, never start the Thursday night guys in your flex spots because it leaves you more adaptability later. Feelings about Todd Gurley. The big concern for Todd Gurley heading into the season, guys, the concern for Todd Gurley was the knee. And now he's got a knee injury. I want nothing to do with Todd Gurley. It's sad to say, but he's on the decline for his career. And he can't be in your fantasy lineups. Newton or Tannehill, I'd go towards Tannehill there. Do I start Deshaun Watson? Yes, you can start Deshaun Watson. Guys, we got a few moments until kickoff. I'm getting very excited. If you're watching live on YouTube, you got to hit that like button. I think that the Patriots are going to be the upset underdog tonight. I think that the Patriots defense is going to win this game. Prediction for this game. Yes, I think it's a low scoring affair. I won't be surprised if the Patriots defense scores around the same amount of points as the Patriots offense. I think that they can really figure out Jared Goff in this game. I think that the final score is going to be something like 20-10, and it's going to be the Patriots on top. I think the defense is going to take control. Hey, Sam, TB12 or Tannehill? I love Tom Brady this week. Tannehill's a good option as well, but I like TB12. Mike Davis over Cam Akers for sure. Thoughts on Mike Davis? Yeah, he's a running back 2 with running back 1 upside. He pretty much has to be in your starting lineup, especially if you had Christian McCaffrey. Cam Akers or James Conner? I would lean towards James Conner. Kruby, good to see you, man. I did Diggs, Mostert, and Chark for Hopkins, Bell, and Gurley. You got the best player in the trade, though Bell and Gurley are pretty useless. Patriots defense, yes, Alexander. Patriots defense, absolutely tonight. Best defense this week. You have Steelers defense. Seahawks defense is a great option. The Cardinals, the Panthers are also pretty good options if they're available. Browns defense, Bears defense, or Cardinals defense for the playoffs. Keep all 3 of them. This is the thing in the fantasy playoffs. You don't need depth anymore. Look at your lineup. Decide who your starters are, and if there's a guy in your lineup that on your team that you're never going to start, drop him out of defense, like the Cardinals, like the Browns, like the Bears, who all have pretty good matchups throughout the playoffs. Do you like Kirk Cousins this week or Taysom? App says Kirk. I like Kirk Cousins a little bit more as well. Damian Harris or Peyton Barber? Definitely Damian Harris. Guys, don't overthink the Peyton Barber thing. Peyton Barber's not a good football player. He never has been. He's always been extremely inefficient. Peyton Barber's ceiling is 50 yards and a touchdown. His floor is like 15 yards and no touchdowns. So you can't be going with Peyton Barber. He's not going to be involved in the passing game either. J.D. McKissick's going to take all of that work. J.D. McKissick is much better than him. Top defenses. Yeah, my top defense this week is, it's the Seattle Seahawks against the Jets. But my top 5 defenses in the NFL, I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are definitely top 3, though I still don't trust them against the Bills this week. Their secondary is their big weakness. I think the Saints' run defense can't be overlooked this season. The Saints are a really good defensive option this week as well. Guys, the Saints could go down as the best rushing defense of all time. That's how good they've been against the run this year. And that's why Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders are really tough to trust this week. I would go Connor over Clyde for sure. I'd go Akers over Sanders, and I'm not feeling too bad about it. Walter disagrees with me on that one, by the way. Our artificially intelligent algorithm in the WalterPicks app on the iOS App Store disagrees. He thinks you should start Miles Sanders over Cam Akers. I think you should start Cam Akers over Miles Sanders. Guys, we got a few minutes left. I appreciate everyone that's tuned in. And guys, if you're watching live on TikTok and you haven't subscribed on YouTube yet, you got to go do that. I spend like the last 3 minutes of the live stream only on YouTube trying to get to as many comments as I can. And YouTube is great because this chat is just a little less spammy. It's a little less spammy than TikTok. I love TikTok as well, though, of course. Guys, have a great Thursday night. Go Pats. And don't be surprised when the Pats win as underdogs tonight. All right, and we are live just on YouTube. How's it going, everyone? Love when we get to this point in the stream where I get to just focus on the YouTube chat, try to balance both. Sam, DraftKings question: Who do you like better tonight, Demir Bird or N'Keal Harry? Definitely Bird. It's Bird, and it's honestly not close. Bird's playing more. He's been better. Bird had back-to-back 3 straight games over 7 targets before last week when the Patriots didn't need to throw the ball last week. I like Bird a lot more than him, and I'm repping the N'Keal Harry jersey, but I've pretty much already taken the L on that being a bad draft pick. Pick one: Ayuk, Godwin, Gallman, Akers. I would probably go with Godwin. Woods, Corey Davis. I like Corey Davis more than Woods. Mike Davis or Jonathan Taylor. I like Mike Davis more. How do you feel about Robert Woods? I think he can have a good game tonight, though I'm a little concerned against Stephon Gilmore. Woods, Corey Davis, or Crowder. Pick 2. I would go Davis and Crowder over Woods. Cup or Ridley. I would go Ridley over Cup. Quick Sam, Akers or Miles Sanders and Damian Harris. I like Akers the most out of all 3 of those guys. Free prop pick tonight. Jake, only the premium subscribers got our prop picks tonight. We had 2 of them. If you start the 3-day free trial, Jake, you can hop on those in the WalterPicks app in the iOS App Store. We will, of course, have another free prop on Sunday in the few hours leading up to football. If you're great at something, Jake, you don't always do it for free. Akers, Landry, Connor. That's life advice for you, Jake. Akers, Landry, or Connor. I would probably go with Connor out of those 3 guys. AJ Brown or Corey Davis. I like AJ Brown more still. Corey Davis is also really good, but I'd still lean towards AJ Brown. Alessandro, though, that's the type of respect we got to give to Corey Davis, who's gone over 10 fantasy points in every single game but 1 this season. Pats defense or Bucks defense? I like the Patriots defense more than the Bucks defense. I'd be tossing out the guys. Jared Goff this isn't a very complicated offense. The ESPN analysts, the NFL Network analysts will lead you to believe, even probably the commentators tonight. I always watch the games without sound because I can't stand the commentators, but the commentators tonight are probably going to tell you that this is a dynamic offense from the Los Angeles Rams. It's really not that dynamic. They run sideways a bunch before the football snaps, and then they just either run the ball or they have short passes for Jared Goff. It's the whole offense, and I think it's going to be figured out. Sam, the Tuesday DFS lineup did great. Yeah, it did do great. I forgot to sub out Dez. Wow, and you still play super well. Yeah, I did swap out Dez. That was ridiculous, Matt. Minutes before the game, Dez Bryant getting pulled was crazy. He was probably going to do well, too, in that game. But yeah, I put in Duvernay, I think, and still I did pretty well in the tournaments as well. I do like Patriots defense tonight in tournaments. Why White, Ty Johnson, or Singletary? I would probably lean. You can't play Singletary against the Steelers. I'd probably lean Ty Johnson if Gore is out. White, to me, though, is probably the safest option. Should I drop Fournette? Yeah, you can pretty much confidently drop Fournette at this point. Lamar or Taysom? Definitely Lamar Jackson for me. Should I drop Fournette? Yes. Best defense this week. Gamester boy, go check out the Seattle Seahawks. And I got 2 words for you. Adam Gase. Is Chase Edmonds droppable? If so, what's your reasoning? I don't think he's droppable, Bennett, because he's one of the best handcuffs in the NFL, and he does have standalone value. So I don't think you can drop him, but he isn't startable. And the reasoning there is really this whole season, despite being more efficient than Kenyon Drake, the Cardinals coaching staff has made it very, very clear that despite Kenyon Drake being less efficient than Chase Edmonds, Kenyon Drake's the one that's going to get the snaps. You take the Pats D over Rams tonight? Yes, Josh. Yes, I did. Confident starting Josh Allen this week. Jake, I'm very confident starting Josh Allen this week. I think Josh Allen's going to do very well. If I put in that one Ravens receiver, I would have been splitting a $300 first place pot. Damn. But Matt, anytime you can get paid for watching football, you definitely can't complain. That's my philosophy in life. What running backs am I starting this week? Sanders, Dobbins, and I'm also glad you didn't hop on that Lamar prop as it was starting to move. Thoughts on Taysom for the rest of the playoffs? I've got Brady, and I'm probably going to drop Taysom. Yeah, Taysom Hill is a pretty intriguing option in fantasy because of his rushing volume. He does have a pretty good floor, but Brady has such a good playoff schedule that you just don't need to carry 2 quarterbacks. Pats, Rams, or Chiefs defense? I do really like the Pats defense. Rams are probably number 2. The Chiefs defense is a pretty good option too. All 3 of those teams should do well, in my opinion. Thoughts on Jonathan Taylor? I would probably argue Rams defense is safer than the Patriots, but I really do like the Pats D tonight. Thoughts on Jonathan Taylor? Yeah, I think Jonathan Taylor, he didn't see as much volume as I would have liked this past week. He actually got more efficient. He's been one of the most efficient receiving backs in the league this year, but the volume decreased slightly. So he does have actually a little bit more risk than I was expecting. He still has really good upside behind a good offensive line. He's getting passes out of the backfield, but he does come with risk. Don't get me wrong. Thoughts on Deebo Samuel? Yeah, I think Deebo Samuel and Ayuk are both pretty good options. Who do you think will win the Super Bowl? From day one, I've said the Chiefs. The Chiefs offense to me is just too good. Is Pollard startable if Zeke is out? Yes, of course. Is Zeke questionable? I didn't see anything about Zeke potentially being out. Though I haven't refreshed Twitter, I guess, semi recently. All right, I got time for 2 more questions. AJ Brown, MT, or McLaren? I'd probably go with AJ Brown. And Will. All 3 of those guys are going to do really well. Honestly, I'd probably lean AJ Brown though. Someone has Seahawks D. Is Patriots a good D? Yes. GameStar. I would play the Patriots defense over the Steelers defense. Thoughts on T.Y. Hilton? He's really come on over the last 3 weeks, and he is an interesting flex option, though. He definitely comes with risk, and we knew he was going to do well against the Texans. He owns the Texans. He hasn't had a single bad game in his career. Got a test on quadratic formula. Going to go study. Bennett, that's what I'm talking about. Study with the game in the background. Good luck on your test. Pats D or Ravens D? I like the Pats defense a little bit more than the Ravens defense. All right, guys. Yeah, Rams defense or Pats defense? I'm going Pats D, guys. Again, here's my final take of the night. I think the Patriots are going to win as underdogs tonight. As you know, I only bet on props, so I didn't bet on the game. But if I was, it was pretty good value, plus 180, with the Patriots, to me, being pretty comparable to the Rams. The Rams have a very predictable offense, as do the Patriots. But I think Bill Belichick gets the edge in the coaching advantage tonight. So go Pats. Have a great Thursday night, everyone. I hope you gained something from this live stream. If you didn't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I will be back live the 3 hours leading up to football on Sunday. You got to tune into that. We'll have our free prop pick then as well. Have a great night, everyone, and thank you for tuning in.